I'm Kris Gardner of the Houston Round Bar Review, speaking with Shereka Wright, head coach of Texas Arlington women's basketball. Coach Wright, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, my pleasure. And let's just talk about you've been head coach for now, 2 full seasons?
Yes.
And you signed a contract extension?
Yes, I did.
So what are your thoughts on the extension? Was it a surprise?
No, definitely not a surprise. I think the biggest thing that, came out of all of this is that we had a really good season. I have a really good relationship with our current AD, Jim Baker. And, everything turned out to be the way that we expected it. We knew we had a really good team coming back after year one. We were able to add some pieces that we thought was really, really good to help us get over that hump to compete for a Sun Belt championship and to be able to get to the NCAA tournament. So, I love UT-Arlington. I love the diversity of the campus and the university, and I think it has a lot to offer.
Now, you made the tournament in your second year as head coach. Was that ahead of your timetable? I was right on schedule.
Every year that's your plan, right? To be able to make the NCAA tournament, like I talked about earlier on. I thought that we had the pieces to be able to get to the NCAA tournament. I thought we had a lot of experience. We had 7 seniors that were on that roster this previous year, and then to be able to add Star Jacobs to the mix with that and Deja Benjamin. I thought we could make a really big run. I liked their size, liked their versatility to be able to compete, and that's what we were expecting. That's why we had a non-conference schedule to prepare us for that going into conference play. And so, those expectations were definitely set for us this year.
And I think the team had some key non-conference wins. So just touch on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously just kind of talking about it all to be able to beat Houston at home in overtime. I think it really was solidified. We talked about really good quality wins. We knew obviously what Houston would do in their conference, and then to be able to beat South Florida, at home, who had just come off of wins against Oregon and Connecticut in the tournament. And so those wins were key, but also to be able to go on the road. We went to Vegas and to be able to beat UNLV on their home floor. Those were key. We actually ended up winning, their conference. So you talk about those non-conference schedule wins that I thought were big, and then to be able to play Baylor, really good in that first half at home, and to be able to beat Rice at home. Like those were key wins that, I thought that, was really, really good for us to be able to compete and have that resume that we needed.
Now you mentioned 7 seniors. Are those super seniors? Will any of them be back? Or are they all leaving? You got a lot of spots to fill?
That's always the question. They're kind of taking some time to kind of figure that out. But, one of the seniors that we know, Deja Benjamin, is for sure returning for, that 5th year to compete and play. And then, we got some other ones who are trying to decide. There's some that have decided, that, they're ready to move forward. But, ultimately, I think their goals were to play, 4, full seasons and to play in the NCAA tournament, and they have fulfilled that.
Now, is there a deadline or a timeline for a senior to decide if they want to come back or it's up to them?
Yeah, for me it is, because, it affects recruiting, right? And so,
sure.
And I want to give them that opportunity, especially, that's something that they're wanting to do. I mean, obviously we signed 5 freshmen. I think freshmen are a very, big part of your program. And when you build your program, you need that foundation. And so, we did give them some time, and to kind of look at this, but they also have a deadline for me. I can't speak for every coach, but I think every coach wants that senior to make a decision, because if they do want to decide to come back, then we don't have to fulfill those spots. But it's important for them to be able to say, hey, listen, I want to return, coach, and for the reasons of why they want to return. And if not, we want to make sure we move forward with, trying to recruit some players to replace that void.
Now, for folks who don't know, tell them about your career as a player before becoming a coach.
Yeah, absolutely. So started so I played high school ball at Copper's Cove, Texas. A lot of people don't know where that is. My dad was in the military, so it's right there connected to the Fort Hood area. So had a really good career there. We did not have a chance to win, a state championship, but we did compete at a high level, and we're ranked number 1, in the country my junior year, and then in the top, 10 my senior year. And I was fortunate enough to go play at Purdue for Christy Curry, who we competed in the Final Four my freshman year, and definitely won some Big Ten regular season and conference championships. Had a really good career at Purdue. and was drafted in the first round originally to Detroit Shock, and then got traded in the second round and played for Phoenix Mercury for 2 full seasons before I got into coaching. So definitely had a really good playing career, and really solidified my name really within the state of Texas. But the path that I took definitely helped me get to this point.
So how long have you been a coach, from assistant coach to now head coach? How long has that been?
So spent 7 years at Texas Tech, 5 years at the University of Alabama, and then 2 years at Vanderbilt. So I spent a total of 14 years as an assistant coach, learning, the game, learning the process before I became a head coach.
When did you know you wanted to be a coach?
My mom, was I was always around my mom. My mother worked in the youth service center, especially doing a lot of stuff, and so I saw her mentoring and coaching. She coached me, and I always knew that was something that I really wanted to do. When I left to go into the WNBA, I remember telling Christy Curry that I wanted to get into coaching if she ever had an opportunity in a spot. I would love to join her staff, and I was fortunate enough when she got the job at Texas Tech. That she did reach out originally for me to be her graduate assistant. And then, a couple of minutes later calls back and wanted me to be on her staff as an assistant. And so, it was something that I always wanted to do. I love mentoring. I love being around young people, and just to be able to give back to them and develop them as young women.
How has the game changed in, I guess, 15 years?
Man, I think what probably has changed just for me playing and kind of what it is now. I think that the exposure piece of it is trying to change as far as how women's basketball is being on a different level as far as the exposure from the TV piece of it to the social media piece. That's not something that we really had back then, right? You were playing on TV, ESPN, but now you have all these different networks from the social piece of it all that you can really display and show how the sport has really come along. And so I am definitely excited about that, the platform that we get to use to be able to talk about the things that we do and what, why you need to invest in women's sports.
Now, I noticed this before speaking to you. The UTA website has a media central, and it looks like you guys had some sort of post-game video wrap-up for every game this season.
Yes.
Was that your idea? Was that the media, the SID's idea?
Yeah, that was all on them, and I thought that we did a really good job of really being able to recap what has happened after those games. One of the things that that UT-Arlington does a really good job of is really highlighting their sports. And I think my biggest thing was that I wanted to use the platform to be able to tell that story to get UT-Arlington out there. And I think that that's probably one of the things that was important for me is to use that voice and say, hey, listen, we got a lot of talent here. There's a lot of great things that's happening here. And so I really tried to use that platform a lot to be able to expose and to really get UT-Arlington out there.
UT-Arlington is a member of the Sun Belt. Is the Sun Belt have games on ESPN Plus?
Yes, so we just finished our last year in the Sun Belt. We are now heading to the WAC.
Right.
So that's you. But yes, also all of our games were on ESPN Plus. We had a great crew that called our games. I mean, we had, obviously Karima Christmas Kelly, who was able to, call a lot of games, who obviously has played in the WNBA, and then Ron Thulin, who has been around for many years. And, obviously, again, I think that was probably a big piece for us to be able to use that, platform where you have, WNBA ties of people that are calling games during that time, but also to be able to call our games.
And do you use that as a recruiting benefit, or to tell parents you'll be able to watch your daughter play on social media platform like, ESPN Plus?
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's important for them to understand that they will get that exposure. And I think a lot of times, I think you have a lot of schools that are talking, especially at the mid-level, they're talking about the exposure that you will get. All our games are on ESPN Plus, especially if they're not in the area to be able to get to the games. If they're on the road or playing on the road, that's a big component to be able to sell that piece of it. And so we do use that as a selling point.
Oh, you're in the dark now. There we go. With the move to the WAC, will that change recruiting, who you recruit, or are you just going to focus on the state of Texas, or how does the change impact you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think first of all, what I like about moving to the WAC is that you open up another area of recruitment for yourself. So to be able to go out to the West Coast and recruit some of those players, but ultimately, we will always continue to recruit home. I think that's the biggest piece. We have a lot of talent within the state of Texas, so we will continue to recruit that. And what it does open for you is when you do go and play on the road at a Cal Baptist or at a Seattle or at Grand Canyon, what that opens up is different areas from Arizona to California to Washington area, players that get to see you, student athletes and families that, may like the style or may want to come down to the South to Texas. And so it does open up a array of different, abilities for you to recruit different student athletes.
Now, I think you mentioned that you signed 5 freshmen.
Mm-hmm.
That's high school.
Yes.
Have you had to spend time in the transfer portal as a head coach?
Yeah, absolutely. And I talked about this. I'm big on recruiting freshmen. I'm big on establishing that relationship because they get to really understand what your program is about, your system is about, right? I think for the transfer portal, I think that there are positives with the portal. I know we've been talking about all of the different student athletes have gone to the portal for whatever reasons that they may be, whether that is for them, to get more playing time or for them to get close to home or, as a grad transfer to, find another place to try something different. I get it. I think it's a benefit for us as coaches that may have young teams or are losing, per se, what I lost 7 seniors, to be able to plug in some, experienced players that, want an opportunity to, be able to come and experience some different things. So, we've tapped into it a little bit, here or there, but, I am big on those freshmen because there are a lot of talented freshmen coming into, out of high school. And so I am big about recruiting them as well.
How would you describe your coaching philosophy?
I think my coaching philosophy is very open, very transparent. I bring kids in and I explain to them their roles and the things that I'm looking for them to be able to do, but also give them an open opportunity to compete. I went into Purdue and, as a freshman, I competed for playing time and got playing time. And I believe in if you come in and compete, no matter if you're a freshman to a senior, you have an opportunity to play for me. That's the ability to be able to compete and be consistent every day, the effort every day. You get that. I'll give you that opportunity to be able to compete and play for me. And so, I love to play, up and down. I love the versatility of the game. I think that's kind of where the game is going, to be locked into just playing one position. And so I think that's worked for us. I think it's been successful for us the last 2 years, and I want to continue to add on to that.
How much of a difference in terms of exposure, talent, technology is from Power 5 like Purdue to UT-Arlington?
I think it's important. I think it is when people look at you, look you up and look at your bio and they see what you've done. I think it makes a difference. It's a resume speaker for yourself to say that you understand, you get it. And I like to be able to say that, I walked in those shoes and I get it and understand that I've worked extremely hard to get to this point. So I love telling that story, and I love telling that story as a Black female that I've had success every step of the way that I've gone, and now to be able to get into that seat and to say that I can be a leader at an institution that has had success and want to continue to have success.
What are your ultimate goals for UT-Arlington?
It's continue to win championships, right? It's continue to set a standard that every year that we step on the floor, it is for us to win championships. It's a culture, it's a standard, it's an expectation when you decide to put that jersey on. And you represent something bigger than yourself, right? We talk about it's about family. It's about, your academics. It's about developing. So when you leave UT-Arlington, that, hey, this is the best experience that you ever had. And so, we want to be able to do that. And we want to be able to go in deep into the NCAA tournament. We want to be an at-large bid. We don't want to be a team that has to rely on winning the tournament every year. We want to make sure that we set that standard, like some of the majors have done, from the BYUs to the Florida Gulf Coast to Missouri States. We want to continue to do the same thing.
Have you already noticed an uptick in attention from recruits because of the championship and going to the NCAA tournament?
Oh, absolutely. There's been a lot of people that have reached out and, just even coming back from the Final Four in Minnesota, there are a lot of, compliments and, I just appreciate that. But, that's what you want. You need, winning, it helps. It helps to win, especially when you're really trying to, solidify your program and to be able to get recruits, right? They got to be wanting to be intrigued by, who you are. Kids want to win, and that's a big piece of it all, but they also want to be a part of a program where they can grow and they can learn.
How much support have you received from the administration at UTA?
Oh, definitely a lot. I think the fun part about we just experienced in the NCAA tournament, we just had our new President Cowley, who traveled with us, that came from North Texas on a trip with us to the NCAA tournament. So that was awesome for her to be able to come and support us. The campus has been very supportive. The community has been very supportive. So, I think that the biggest thing is that you need that support from your administration, and they traveled with us and they were part of the journey with us.
Are you the type of coach who goes out on the student body on campus to encourage students to come to the games and go into the community, things like that?
Yeah, I think it's important to be able to go on your campus and to be able to, tell them how important it is for students to come and support you, right? I mean, they don't know if you don't show your face. I mean, that's the same thing in recruiting, right? You got to be able to be known. You got to be able to be seen. And that's through and through, from the student body to the administration to the staff to the university. And those are some of the things that I try to focus on, obviously as I'm here in year 2 and year 3, I want to continue to do that.
Have you finalized your non-conference schedule for the upcoming season?
Not yet. That's always the struggle right now, is trying to get people to come play us right now. When you win, that's always the thing too. And so we have not solidified that. What we've done is that we got some home and homes that we got to come back. And obviously, we can talk about that a little bit. We have a home and home with Houston that we have to return with Baylor. But other than that, we're still working on some other games to be able to put on the list. So we're almost there, but not there yet.
As a coach, do you have in mind how you want to structure your non-conference schedule and a certain number of Power Fives and then going on down the line?
Yeah, I do. I think that, scheduling matters, right? Scheduling can either make or break you. And, what I look at it is that last year, what I really wanted to do was challenge ourselves a little bit and play some Power Fives, to kind of gauge and see where we were. And so I think it's this year is that I still feel like we have a very good nucleus of players returning. And so, I look at our schedule and yes, we are, we're playing a good amount of Power 5 teams and some teams that have definitely won their conference. So, it kind of scary as a head coach when you look at the schedule, we were scheduled, but I think what we try to do is to be able to mix in some teams, because we just don't want to, again, teams we feel like they can't help us be better. And so, from this time and you look at it, you feel like you still have a really good veteran team, and I feel like I do, and I want to continue to challenge them.
Does the non-conference include a trip? Like MTE?
Sure. Yeah, MTEs, we want those, right? Those are always important. You want your players to be able to travel somewhere fun and to enjoy that experience. Like I said, last year we went to Vegas, and I thought that was a really good trip for us. And so we're looking at a couple of them right now to see, kind of where we want to go. Usually we like to go to those trips during Thanksgiving. And once we kind of get that settled, hopefully we'll know where we're going. So probably somewhere warm. I think that's always a big piece.
How, in your mind, how long do you want to take before you finalize your non-conference schedule? You want to be done by June, into this month, or July, or anything like that?
Yeah, I do. I definitely want to be done, finished by, June. I think that's hopefully, I know you got a lot of coaches that are getting into new positions right now. They need to take a look at their schedule. And so I would love to definitely have that completed. And I think we're right there. I think that we're almost finished with the schedule. We like where the schedule is. And so we just got a couple more games to add. So hopefully about 3 or 4 more.
Did you receive a piece of the net from Coach Dawn Staley?
I sure did.
What does that mean to you?
It's for me to receive that. It's telling, me it's motivation to know and to say that you want to be able to get to where she is. I mean, I think Dawn has done a tremendous job of setting the tone of, what you need to do. What does the blueprint look like to be successful to get to the NCAA tournament and to win it all? I think she started that even before that, obviously Carolyn doing what she did at Purdue, but then Dawn doing what she does. But she looked at it, and the blueprint was is that, take care of home, right? She was able to get some big pieces with Tiffany Mitchell, and then to be able to get Asia Wilson and Elena Coates, like those players were around that area. And so then, once she did that, she was able to build that out. So if you look at that blueprint and you look at what she's done, I think that you got to continue to do it. Great players make it easy for you. It's coaching. We know we can coach all we want, but you got to have players that are invested, that are talented, and fit what you ultimately want to do. And so you look at this game, it's about versatility. It's about size. It's about players that, can do multiple things, right? And so I think that that's that platform. So it's actually sitting right in front of my door as I walk in a little case. And it's just motivation for me to be the best that I can be every day.
When you recruit, do you recruit talent on a Power 5 level? Like, are you going head to head with Texas and Baylor in the state? Are you going ahead against Rice and Houston and that level?
Well, I think it's a combination of both, right? I think what you look at is that you recruit a kid that fits your system, and then you look at the talent. I mean, I think you have to be realistic, right? I think that's the beauty of and the experience that I do have being at the Power 5 level as an assistant, for those 14 years, right? You know what that talent looks like, and then you also got that mixture of those kids that are right there that can impact you at the Power 5 or mid level. And so you recruit, you sell to what ultimately you feel like can work for that kid. And the kid can only tell you no, but you got to be realistic about your program. And so I think within the state, right, I think everybody's kind of competing for out, but I think there's so much talent that goes across. There's kids that kind of go, unnoticed because there's so many players in the state of Texas that people kind of miss out on them. So we just try to do our homework and try to establish those relationships. And as we go out in the summertime, pay attention to some of these teams that, probably don't, get the recognition, or they don't, not on the Nike circuit or Adidas or Under Armour circuit. Some of those independent programs that have some talent.
Have you maintained or continue to build or establish connections in the state to help you find diamonds in the rough?
Oh, absolutely. It's all about relationships. And I think that that's probably one of the things that made me a very effective recruiter is that continue to build those relationships and you don't lose them. And, and then that's what happens from time to time. You get a phone call. Hey, coach, I finally got a kid for you. Even if you don't get that one or two kids from them, eventually you're going to get a kid from them. So you want to continue to build those relationships.
And we're almost done speaking with Coach Shereka Wright at UT-Arlington. In terms of when you played, how has the game changed in terms of talent? Are they more athletic, more fundamental, less of either, both? How would you say it?
Good question. At the time when I played, right, you had, it's true positions, right? You had a true center, you had a true, small forward, and you had a true, power forward. Like there were true positions at that time. Bigger, probably, more physical. I know at the time when I played in the Big Ten, it was very, very physical. And so now when you look at it, compare, it's more versatility. I would say you got players that can play multiple positions. So I think that the game has changed a lot from that standpoint of it all, because again, you got a kid that can be, 6'2", 6'3", that normally is playing a power forward, but also can be a point guard for you. Right. And so, or, you can play some small ball and still be effective with that. Back then in the past, that wasn't something that you could always get away with because you had true, fives, like 6'5" and 6'4" that were great with their bat to the basket. That's not like how the game is now. So I think that the game has changed because of the versatility of the players and the positions that they can play. And
then last thing, are you big into analytics?
Yes, it's all about numbers, right? You got to talk about the numbers and what you're doing. So I think that stuff is important with the numbers and, how a team can win, right? So we talk about, if it's a certain scoring, percentage that you need to be able to win those games. So you got to kind of look at that stuff and you got to play the percentage, right? If you're playing a team that, is more up and down, like what can you do to be able to slow them down? So we look at numbers a ton, and you got to, be able to do that, right? Because you can scout a kid all day long, but again, they get into the game, they can still do different things. So you got to play percentages is to know, what you're going to give yourself a chance to win those games.
All right, Shereka Wright. Thank you very much, Coach. And hopefully you'll bless me enough and talk to me again at some point.
Sounds good.
Do you have a coach's show?
No, yeah, I do actually. We do have a coaches show. I'm going to make sure you get connected to those things. So we do those every Monday, and yeah, we definitely make sure you connect on that.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Coach.
Thanks.
Take care.
Have a good one.
You too.